as a singer and as a protest singer, I have performed in front of every Federal Reserve Bank in the United States with my guitar out in front of the building, singing songs, trying to knock the building down. And it didn't come down. And so, I had this talk with the Lord, around the same time that Mary was getting her degree. Why hasn't any of the efforts that I have done or been part of, or this movement, it hasn't really changed anything substantially? And the answer I got back was because they have control of everyone's children. They have control of their minds through this system.
Your organization is known worldwide, and we certainly appreciate every facet that you do.
I do believe in what you're doing because I've seen it in my family.
I'm so excited about all the things that, Robert, you guys are doing with Classical Conversations. It's been a huge blessing for our family.
Grateful for the work at Classical Conversations. You're a leader, and you have been in this movement for a long time. We love Classical Conversations.
I do feel like I have a debt of gratitude to you, your family, all of CC for just the fruit that has come from CC.
I appreciate all that you guys do, both through this wonderful podcast and also through Classical Conversations, which I am convinced is the best education resource out there. Thank you very much for all that you do for the cause of Christ and for our families and for our children. Really, really appreciate it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another informative episode of Refining Rhetoric. And today I'm excited to have a fellow homeschool dad, a Bitcoiner, tell us about how he's serving the homeschooling community. So Jordan Page is the founder and CEO of Firefly Education Network, a new homeschooling platform built to help families confidently step outside the government school system and take ownership of their children's education. He's a father of 7. Him and his wife, Mary, she's an experienced educator with advanced degrees, have homeschooled their family for 14 years, giving them firsthand insight into what families actually need to succeed. So Firefly empowers educators with confidence, freedom, and clarity. As we mentioned, Jordan is, besides being a Bitcoiner and libertarian, he's a nationally recognized musician and outspoken advocate for liberty, family rights, and limited government. And you can learn more about Firefly at fireflyedu.org. That's fireflyedu.org. So without further ado, Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Robert. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so it was really cool. We were both in Las Vegas for the Bitcoin conference. We talk about that a little bit on the show and love to hear some of your thoughts on what's going on. And of course, dive into Firefly. But for our audience members, tell us a little bit about your history and why did y'all decide to homeschool? And share us your background.
Sure. Well, Mary and I have always sort of gone down the path less traveled, I would say. And I've been a musician and a nationally touring recording artist for many years. We started having kids, and as a libertarian, I tend to question things and try to see beyond the official story and just about everything in my life that comes across my plate. And, Mary's been on this journey with me, and we started having children. And, my oldest son, John, is on the mild end of the autism spectrum. And when we had him in a private preschool way back when, he wasn't participating in the way that the teachers wanted him to, even though he was retaining all the information. And they were, punishing him and suggesting that we punish him. And it was just what are you suggesting that we do to our child who's not absorbing the information the way you want him to? And we started to just realize we both looked at our lives and how we were both very much, I would say, raised by the public school system. And didn't want that for our kids. And we had 3 children at the time, and we're working on our 4th. And we pulled John out of that situation and just started working with him and his younger brother Andrew at the same time. And we really raised them on the same academic level because we were doing the same things with them. They were little at the time, and really instilled in them early on a love of learning. Not just teaching them things, but giving them the tools so that they could explore learning in a way that was exciting to them and that drove them. And they both became very self-directed learners. And that was very exciting for us as their parents to see this. And so we've really tried to instill that love of learning in our kids. And, 14 years later, we've been through every iteration of homeschooling. We've really tried it all. We've had all the successes and failures that you can have. But at this point, it's a pretty well-oiled machine. And, our kids are thriving. Our two oldest are 16 and 18, and they're both graduating high school with their associate's degrees this year.
Wow.
So that's a product of homeschooling. And we really wanted to instill our values in our children and not have the state do that. And so you can't, I always tell people, you can't send your kids off to Caesar and be surprised when they come home and they're Romans. And so we decided to really raise them according to our values and have been on an amazing journey with them, really. And it's grown all of us, not just them.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin too, because people are always asking, well, what can this actually be used for? And I know that you guys have implemented some of those crypto technologies in there, and you talked about the road less traveled. And silver prices just spiked. I think it was over $88 or approaching $90. And I thought about that last night, even was like, our economy, our value if in US dollars has basically been cut in half against silver in the last 12 months. Like, you are half as rich as you were 12 months ago if you've got anything saved compared to the value of silver. And that's like a hard metal people have talked about. Now, silver spiked before, I think, it was like around the $50 range, like 40 years ago. So it could always settle back down. But you talk about like sound money. We talk about freedom, clarity, these ideas of homeschooling, of, don't let this centralized ideas seem not to work for the common man. It seems to always work for the connected bunch. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you got into Bitcoin and why, just your thoughts on like, how can that help homeschool families maybe become more independent of the state?
That's a great question, really. I wasn't expecting to talk about all this, but this is one of my favorite subjects. So I got into Bitcoin very early. I discovered it in 2010, really.
Oh, wow.
Almost at the very, very beginning. I remember when Bitcoin was 33 cents. And a friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, we're having a meetup in Philadelphia. You should come." And we're talking about this new thing called Bitcoin. And at first I was like, what is that? That sounds like nonsense to me. But when I discovered that it was an alternative currency, a decentralized currency for the people, I was extremely excited, because I had really come up in the Ron Paul movement. Former Congressman Ron Paul, who ran for president in 2008 and 2012. I had been a great admirer of his, and I had done as a performer, as a singer and a songwriter. I had been writing a lot of songs about liberty, and it caught his attention. And I was actually, performing at a lot of events that he was at, and I'd met him in 2008, and we hit it off. And so I was part of this growing movement of people that were passionate about sound money and ending the Federal Reserve System, which is a private foreign-owned bank. There's nothing federal about it, and there are no reserves. They print money out of thin air. And every boom and bust cycle this country's had since 1913 was caused by the Fed. All of the unconstitutional wars that this country is involved in are all funded by the Fed. And we are all economic slaves to this bank. And so the idea that there was this decentralized currency that was peer-to-peer blew my mind. It was just this incredible idea. And so I was one of the original, community that was using Bitcoin. I mean, I'll cry if I go too deep into how many Bitcoin I've spent on, just little items back when Bitcoin was only a few dollars, when it was only worth a few dollars. But we were trying to subvert and circumvent the Federal Reserve System and Federal Reserve notes or dollars, because that system is entirely based on debt and violence. And so, Bitcoin is about freedom. And I started to really appreciate the value of what decentralized currencies can do for not just our national economy, but for the global economy. I mean, that this is really a way out from under the boot of central banking. And so I was very, very interested in it and was using it a lot between 2011 and 2014. And then things started to take off. I never in a million years thought that it would become what it's become. But I've lived for, many years of my life, solely on Bitcoin. And so it has affected my life in tremendous ways. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily a Bitcoin maximalist, like there's only Bitcoin and that's all there is, because I see great value in other blockchains, not every blockchain, but other blockchains as well. But I really believe in decentralization. And that was part of the impetus behind Firefly, because, I'll kind of jump around topics.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, this was a good segue. So you're a homeschool dad, you like decentralization.
Yes.
So how did this help inspire Firefly?
So my wife, Mary, we live in Washington, and in Washington, legally, you're supposed to have a licensed teacher overseeing your curriculum if you're homeschooling. And so my wife, Mary, decided to go back to school and get her graduate degree. She got a master's in teaching in 2020. And as she was getting her degree, we really came face to face with what I would call the insidious agenda that's at play in the state-run public school systems. Because when you discover what they're teaching teachers, it all becomes clear. You start to see the whole picture. And we've always known, for many, many years, we've known that the public school system was doing tremendous damage to the fabric of our country. But we really didn't understand the full scope of it until she got this degree and was having to absorb and regurgitate the just absolutely repugnant ideologies. And if this is what they're teaching teachers, then this is how they are they, them, those, the ominous they. This is how they are instilling their agenda, and this is why things are the way that they are. I'll tell you this, Robert. I have, as a singer and as a protest singer, I have performed in front of every Federal Reserve Bank in the United States with my guitar out in front of the building, singing songs, trying to knock the building down, and it didn't come down. And so, I had this talk with the Lord, around the same time that Mary was getting her degree. Why hasn't any of the efforts that I have done or been part of, or this movement, it hasn't really changed anything substantially? And the answer I got back was because they have control of everyone's children. They have control of their minds through this system. And that, that combined with what Mary was learning, she and I really had a major come to Jesus moment together at the same time. And we said, we've got to do something about this. And I think a lot of people would have said, well, we just got to keep our heads down, just get through this degree, get your degree, and don't worry about it. We know the truth. But we are not those kinds of people. And we said, we got to do something about this. And originally we were thinking of opening a brick and mortar homeschool or support center. But I really looked at it, and it wasn't conducive to making a living. And so I've been in the blockchain space all this time. And I said, what if we did a decentralized sort of program where people, we could offer curriculum and access to teachers and support and community and all these resources for homeschool families. And it could be all over the world. It could be international. I know AI is just around the corner. Where, and I had an inkling of what those tools would do. This is prior to ChatGPT coming out, and I was like, I'll bet we could build something like that we could reach people everywhere. And she loved that. And she said, whatever we do, we have to call it Firefly. And I said, well, why? And she says, because we have to teach kids to be lights in the darkness. And for whatever reason, that just grabbed a hold of my imagination and I ran with it. I jumped into the market research. I realized that the homeschool sector in education is the fastest growing and the most underserved in the world. That it's not just an American thing. It's a worldwide movement that is masquerading as a niche. And I was totally inspired by the numbers I saw, by the trajectory that I saw this going. But I was also very inspired by all of the stories, all of the other homeschool families that I met and I was reading about and reading their testimonies and watching their testimonies about what they're going through. And it just deeply convicted us both in the spirit to build this. So in 2023, we raised some venture capital and now here we are at the beginning of 2026, and the platform is fully deployed. It's fully functional. It's a pretty robust platform that is really meant to be an all-in-one solution for homeschool families who are anywhere from just starting out or who have been doing it for years. And this is a new resource and operating system for the homeschool demographic worldwide.
Hey, everybody. Interrupting today's show to tell you about some brand new products we've just released at Classical Conversations. You can find the whole list at classicalconversations.com/what's new. But you can learn the language of math through our new math map domains, naturals, decimals, rationals, reals, and binomials. So we've almost gotten through all the launches of all the new math map products. We're super excited about our new Latin products, flashcards, as well as just our whole new direction that we're going with the Latin product. So super exciting there. And of course, sharpening your reasoning and critical thinking skills with the Reasoning Together series. These include our fallacies, puzzles, and together words in the word. And equips challenge students to identify false reasonings, solve complex problems, and apply classical tools to scripture today. Yeah, we've got a whole lot more there. So again, go to classicalconversations.com/what's new and get your family ready for an exciting year of classical Christian education today. Now, back to the show. Nice. Now, I just released my book, Woke and Weaponized, How Karl Marx Won the Battle for American Education, How to Win It Back. So if you're not sure what Jordan's talking about the public schools being used to undermine the fabric of our nation, we break it all down with my co-author, Alex Newman. So go check that out. So yeah, when I think about maybe like 3, 5, 6% of students are being homeschooled at any one time, and it's ideally we can get that number up to 100%. So I know that like online education is getting more popular, but you guys, I thought it was really cool how you are almost like a decentralized network helping homeschool parents either connect or even build their own curriculum and things like that. So talk about like maybe for the homeschool mom entrepreneur, some of the things that you have going on inside the Firefly system.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. Well, let's start with the community, because community was a big piece of the puzzle that we were missing for the first several years that we were homeschooling, because we were in Indiana at the time. We were out in the middle of nowhere. We were isolated, didn't know anybody else who was doing homeschooling. And so the community building aspect was very important to both of us to have in there. And so we've built out a complete community social gathering suite where, you know, essentially anything and any types of features that Facebook has, we have, except that it's private and no one's mining your data. Yeah. It's entirely private. And so, and parents have, super admin control over their not just their account, but their children's sub accounts. And so they can control like who is able to contact with them and whatnot. But we wanted families to be able to connect both locally, regionally, and internationally to really build and foment this sense of community worldwide in the homeschooling community. So beyond those types of tools to build chapters and to connect with each other and to build local co-ops, we've built out a pretty robust, what I would call a tech stack. We have a lot of features. To your point about being able to create your own curriculum, we've built out this amazing AI tool called Firefly Chalkboard. And Chalkboard allows mom and dad homeschool parent to create full courses, just with prompts essentially. And so you go through this very easy workflow. It's incredibly easy. It definitely passed the grandma test to be able to, anyone can use this. It's very self-explanatory. And you can create a course on anything. I was giving someone a tour of it the other day, and they asked if we could create a course on how to build your own dog grooming business. I was like, that's the most random thing I've ever heard, but sure. And so we built this course on how to build a dog grooming business, and it was totally complete and great. I'm building courses right now on St. Paul and Joshua. You can make courses on literally any subject. So beyond the core types of curriculum that are out there and that we're offering, you can create any kind of elective course on anything. And Chalkboard will give you a 5-module course with 5 topics per module and a quiz. So you get 25 topics per course. And after Chalkboard has done its work and it has completely populated all of the topics with content, and you get about 60,000 words per course. So it's a lot of content. You can then go into the manual editing phase and add pictures and videos. You can embed PDFs and worksheets. You can build it out however you want to. And the best part is, once you are done and you submitted it for publication to our team, once we've approved it, not only do you and your family get to use it, but so do me and my family and everyone's, because it goes into our community curated curriculum space, which is called Firefly Co-op. And traditionally, a co-op is where parents teach each other's kids in a communal setting. And so this is a sort of a virtual online version of that idea, where when I make a course, you and your kids can make use of it and vice versa. And so if you have thousands of families making courses, it builds this Firefly Co-op curriculum exponentially. And all of these courses are part of your subscription to Firefly. So beyond our core curriculum, which I'd like to talk about as well, you can use Chalkboard to create any number of courses on literally any subject. Another aspect of that's really great is I'll go through the AI portions first, because I know a lot of homeschool families out there are maybe distrusting of AI, and I understand why.
Sure.
I look at AI like it's fire. Okay, fire can burn you, can kill you, but it can also keep you warm and cook your food. And so we have chosen to utilize it in the latter sense. And so most of our AI workflows are not student facing. They are strictly parent facing. They're there to enhance mom and dad's ability to teach, to create, and to be successful as the primary educator of their kids. Because essentially that's what you become. When you make the decision to homeschool, you are the primary educator. And so all of our AI tools are meant to help you, the parent, to be successful. I would say most online education programs I've seen are primarily focused on the students and are big, dopamine factories. But
Sure.
This is about mom and dad and helping them, giving them the tools they need to succeed in helping their kids. And so one of those tools that we have is Freddie the Firefly, who is he's our mascot. He's like a cute little purple firefly, like a Pixar type character. And right now he's the chatbot. He's your assistant. He can also be a tutor if necessary. He can also help you build the courses as you're manually editing your courses in Chalkboard. Freddie is present and can add more content. He can paraphrase things. He can give you examples of things that if you need. He's a very helpful piece of this. And our third AI component is called Firefly Translate Plus. And this is a really amazing tool that will take course videos. If you create a course video, Robert, and you're on camera and you're lecturing, let's say you were turning your book into a course for high schoolers, and you're on camera, it will you can translate the video into any language, and it will retain your original voice, the timbre of your voice, and also dub your mouth movements to match the new language. So you could then
Wow.
translate your course into any number of languages, in every major language if you chose to. And at the same time, the whole site is translatable. The text is translatable with the click of a button. So we have all major languages represented, which means Firefly is internationally accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world.
I know the international families, because we support them, are always looking for resources. So that's great that you guys are able to do that, because we can only support so many internationally. Yeah. So you talked about, I want to hear about the core curriculum, because I think you and I were talking about it earlier via email. But so what is the price point, or like, are parents paying per class? I think you mentioned is it like a Netflix type fee on a monthly basis, or so like or is there a free version parents can check out?
Sure, these are all great questions. So you can set up a free account on Firefly and participate in the community. All the community building tools, the social platform is totally free. Anyone can create an account, and you can create groups and participate in forums and all of that. That's all free. If you want to take advantage of all of our tools, and we have Chalkboard, Translate Plus, Freddie is free to everyone as well. But we also have other aspects of the platform too. I'll just go through them very quickly. We have a video library of over 300,000 ad-free education videos that are searchable through keywords and topics. We have a parental operating system called Firefly Compass that gives you guidance on the legal landscape of homeschooling in your area, helps you plan field trips. It gives you a complete planner to plan your lessons, to track grades and generate transcripts. There's 15 different apps, including a Bible app. We are lifelong disciples of Christ, and so that is always going to be our primary directive is to spread the gospel. And so we included a Bible app where you can, the entire Bible is in this app, and you can translate it into any language as well. We also have a publication called Firefly Chronicle, which is dozens and dozens of articles on homeschooling, every style of homeschooling, every learning style, how to use the site, how to connect with people, how to do it. It's incredible amount of a wealth of resources for families. And all of this is part of your subscription. We're also offering live classes. We have a built-in teleconferencing app called Firefly Connect that is course specific, and only vetted and improved instructors have access to that to be able to do live tutoring sessions and live classes. This is also about teachers that want to get out of that centralized school system too, and still make a living and still be able to share their talents and connect with families. So we included live classes in this. Now, to get to the price point question, we have, as I mentioned, we've been homeschooling for 14 years, and we have spent an exorbitant amount of money, as most homeschool families end up doing, in piecemealing together all of these resources. There hasn't been this one unified program that has everything you need under one roof, and that's what we set out to do. So it is a subscription model, and you can pay a monthly fee, or you can pay a year up front and get discounts. So if you have one student, it's $49 a month, or you can pay $500 for the whole year, which is a 15% discount if you do the full year. If you have up to 3 students, it's $99 a month, or it's just around $1,000 a year, which means you're paying for 2 students and getting 1 for free. And then you're also getting an additional 10% off on top of that if you pay for the year. If you have up to 5 students, I think it's like $1,600 for the year, but it's $149 a month. So you're paying for 3 students and getting 2 for free. And then if you do the year, you're getting that and an additional 8% off. So if you stack all that together, you're paying somewhere around between $200 and $300 a student per year. I mean, we have spent that on one class. I mean, on like one particular curriculum, for each student. I mean, we really looked at what the market was and decided to build it out and price it in a way where it would be accessible to families who want to do this. And when we add in the core curriculum, that is that's a whole other story.
So tell us about the core curriculum that you guys acquired or partnered with.
So as I mentioned, we have a long-standing relationship with former Congressman Ron Paul, who, as I mentioned, ran for president in 2008 and 2012. And he is really, a modern-day Thomas Jefferson, a true statesman and a wonderful man and a brilliant educator. And he educated millions and millions of people about what's really happening in this country and around the world. Just an amazing person. And we've had a beautiful relationship for many, many years. And Ron has had this homeschool curriculum, which is a classical curriculum, full K through 12. I think they launched it in around 2016, 2017. And I contacted him this fall about becoming a reseller for this. So we wanted to bring it in, and he was very interested in what we were doing. And so what the phase one of this is we're bringing the full Ron Paul curriculum into Firefly to be our core curriculum. And it's very accessible. It's only $40 a month. And you get access to the full curriculum for the year for your student. So it's $40 per student, which is just, it is a screaming great deal is all I can really say about that. But we wanted this curriculum to reach more people. And part of our long-term vision with Dr. Paul is to eventually revamp the curriculum, reproduce it, and translate it into more languages, because currently it's only in English. And so our long-term plans are to use our technology to translate it into most major languages and make it accessible to everyone all over the world.
That's awesome. Hey, as we're wrapping up our time, what do you think we can do to get more homeschool dads involved? And is Firefly a place that can help the moms bring the dads in? Because I know you're really involved, I'm involved, but so many dads don't know necessarily what to do when they're, maybe they're just earning a living, helping the wife out when she needs help. So whenever I talk to homeschool dads, I always want to hear any advice that you'd give.
In a lot dads are backed into a corner in this situation a lot of the time, because we have so many responsibilities and everyone in the family is doing their part. And homeschooling moms and stay-at-home moms have an incredibly complex series of jobs, a number of full-time jobs, just like dads do, and our time, there's so many demands on our time, especially when you have a lot of kids like I do. And we have 7 children and 5 boys and 2 girls. And I'm just the most blessed man. And my wife has certainly been the primary educator, but I take every opportunity that I can to instill educational concepts to my kids. We have long talks. We take trips. We're always in discussions, whether it's at the dinner table or we're out taking a nature walk, talking about things, or we're sitting around the living room having discussions. I always tell the kids that they are the most important work I will ever do. More important than Firefly, more important than music or any type of ministry that I would do. The work that I'm doing in raising them is the most important. And I would tell all the homeschool dads out there that you can have a meaningful contribution to their education, even if you're working full time. Any time that you spend with them can be educational, because they're learning from you. They're picking up on cues from you. They're watching you, the girls and the boys. They're watching you to understand who they are. And I would say take any opportunity you can to participate. And Firefly makes it fun for you. If you're a homeschool dad and your kid wants to learn something that you're interested in and you want to turn it into a course, right now I'm doing a course on diesel mechanics with chalkboard. I'm building out a diesel mechanics a course. You can really create anything with it. It's a lot of fun. and you can find educational resources on our platform together with your kids based on their interests. That's another big part of this, is that this is really a way to explore your children's interests, because we have such a wealth of resources that you can explore and find what they're looking for. We're also bringing in a partner this year that has an AI platform that will help you and your children to figure out career paths for them based on their interests, based on their skill sets and their hopes and dreams. And it will narrow down, possible career paths based on those criteria, and then connect you with resources for how to pursue that. We're really trying to answer all the pain points that families have in homeschooling and demystify it. It can be such a daunting task to put all these resources together in a big patchwork quilt, where now we have one unified platform that has everything. And that is really the goal. And we're just going to keep building. And something to keep in mind, this is just version 1. Everything I've described to you is our first iteration of this idea. I'm excited for version 5 and version 10, and to see where we are in 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I would say this is absolutely a platform that both parents can participate in and create. It's a very creative process, and it's a really fun process. So yeah, we just look forward to serving everyone.
Nice. We'll of course go to fireflyedu.org. But yeah, Jordan, is there any other way for people to connect with you besides going to the website, or any final words on going to check it out?
I would just say that no one is ever going to love your kids as much as you. No one is going to be as invested in their success as you are. And so if you're on the fence about homeschooling, just take a deep breath, pray on it, and take the leap. There is support out there. And we like that. That's why we're, huge fans of all the different amazing programs out there, like Classical Conversations. We've been huge fans of this program for a long, long time, because of the good work that it's doing to combat the ignorance that's being taught in the mainstream systems. And we have the same mission. Really, it's to lift families up. And if people would like to contact me, you can reach me at jordan@fireflyedu.org. If you're an instructor that would be interested in teaching classes or doing tutoring, again, reach out to us and we'll begin the interview process. If you're a family that has questions, again, reach out to us. You can create a free account, fireflyedu.org. You can start talking to people in the community and get some help. If you'd like a tour of the platform, we'd be happy to meet with you. And yeah, we're just looking forward to what comes next for everyone.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the launch, Jordan. I know you're proud of it, and happy to have you on to tell our audience about it. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. Please go subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers this year, and we can't do it without your help. Yeah, leave a comment below about the favorite thing you've heard Jordan say today. And as always, don't be woke, be wise. So until next time, God bless.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortins. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.